There is a handwritten page in the National Archives, microfilm publication M816, Roll 18, filed under account number 1333, Newburn, North Carolina. The paper is old, the ink is faded but legible. Across the top, column headers ask for the depositor's name, birthplace, occupation, parents, siblings, children, and former slaveholder. The depositor is a woman named Dilla Warren. She was 50 years old when she opened her account on November 2nd, 1869. She was born in Chowan County, North Carolina. She made her living sewing, knitting, washing, and ironing. She was crippled. Her husband's name was Pompey Nixon. Next to his name, someone wrote, "Sold away 17 years before the Civil War." Her father was Ned Clark, sold 30 years before the war. Her mother was Harriet Nixon, along with two brothers, Ned and Alan, sold 17 years before the war. Then come the children. Dilla Warren listed 11 of her 15 children on this form. Harriet Ann, sold away. Ned Clark, sold. Oscar and Andrew, twins, dead. Flora, dead. Joseph, dead. Ruas, dead. Lilla, dead. James Clark, Jane and Maria, twins, dead. All of this is on a single page. One woman walked into a bank in 1869 and left behind a complete family tree, names, relationships, losses, and all. This document was created 1 year before the date where most African Americans are told their family history goes dark. But Dilla Warren's file isn't rare. That's the part no one mentions. Between 1865 and 1874, the United States government built the most comprehensive documentation system for black families in American history. It built it twice. The first was the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, the Freedmen's Bureau. Congress established it on March 3, 1865, under 13 Stat. 507. It operated more than 900 field offices across 15 states and the District of Columbia. Those offices produced marriage registers that retroactively legalized unions formed under slavery, listing husband, wife, children by name, ages, and former slaveholder. They produced labor contracts with full names, wages, former plantations, and family members, hospital records, school enrollment records. Record Group 105 at the National Archives contains an estimated 3,059,650 pages of textual records from this single agency. The second system was chartered the same day. The Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company, the Freedmen's Bank, was signed into law on March 3, 1865, under 13 statutes Wu by issue. It grew to 37 branches in 17 states and Washington, D.C. Over the next 9 years, roughly 70,000 depositors opened and closed accounts, and the bank's signature registers functioned as something no one had planned. De facto, family Bibles. A depositor's full name, place of birth, often down to the specific plantation, county, and state. Names of parents, spouse, children, former slaveholders, ages, occupations. All of it handwritten, all of it filed, all of it preserved on National Archives microfilm M816. 3 million pages, 70,000 depositors, and a 9-year window that closed on schedule. So what happened to all of this between 1874 and the night you typed your grandmother's name into a search bar? It started almost immediately. On July the 16th, 1866, just 16 months after creating the Bureau, Congress placed time limits on its operations. By 1868, local field offices were closing. Consolidation began. Then, on June 10, 1872, Congress passed an act, 17 Stat. 366 Mines, abolishing the Freedmen's Bureau effective June 30, 1872. 7 years of family documentation infrastructure terminated. The records were transferred to the War Department. No successor agency was created to continue the work. No one was assigned to integrate what had been gathered into any ongoing system. While the Bureau was winding down, the bank was collapsing. The Panic of 1873 triggered a financial crisis that the Freedmen's Bank could not absorb. In March 1874, bank officials elected Frederick Douglass as president, a confidence measure. Douglass invested $10,000 of his own money. Within months, he discovered the true state of the institution and described himself as having been married to a corpse. On June 29, 1874, the Freedmen's Bank suspended operations. Congress appointed a liquidation commissioner. Of the 61,131 depositors eligible for dividend payments, only 29,996 ever sent in their passbooks. Thousands of others, many of them illiterate, many having moved, were never located. The liquidation dragged on for decades. The comptroller of the currency filed his final report on the bank in 1920. From creation to death, March 3, 1865 to June 29, 1874. Both systems lasted 9 years and 118 days. And here is what did not happen in the years that followed. The Freedmen's Bureau marriage records were never integrated into state vital record systems. The Freedmen's Bank family data was never cross-referenced with census records. No federal program was created to help descendants connect pre-1870 documentation to the 1870 census or to any subsequent record system. The records became historical artefacts, not living civil records, and then for about 80 years almost nobody talked about them. I want to walk through a sequence of events, each one by itself is explainable. In 1865, the federal government created 2 parallel systems documenting black families with unprecedented detail. This was a post-war humanitarian effort. That makes sense. In 1870, the United States conducted the first federal census to list formerly enslaved people by name. The 1850 and 1860 censuses had collected what were called slave schedules, but those schedules listed enslaved people under their slaveholders' names, recording only age, sex, and color. No personal names. The 1870 census changed that, evolving methodology. That makes sense too. Between 1872 and 1874, both the Bureau and the bank shut down within 26 months of each other. No successor agencies were established. Political exhaustion, a financial panic. Understandable. In 1877, the Compromise of 1877 withdrew federal troops from the South. Reconstruction ended. No federal programs existed to maintain, integrate, or expand black genealogical documentation. That was a political compromise. From the 1890s through the 1970s, multiple southern counties destroyed pre-1870 records, citing storage limitations. Courthouse record losses are documented across Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Virginia, and South Carolina, collectively known in the genealogical community as burned counties. New courthouses were built. Old records were not preserved. No federal preservation mandate existed until the National Historic Records Act of 1974. More than a century after the records were created. Ordinary neglect. And then, in 2016, the Freedmen's Bureau records were finally indexed. Not by Ancestry, not by any commercial platform, by approximately 19,000 unpaid volunteers organized through Family Search, the non-profit genealogy arm of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, working over the course of a single year. They extracted 1.8 million names from handwritten documents. That same year, Ancestry.com's annual revenue exceeded $1 billion. Different organizational priorities. Any one of these is a budget decision. All 6 of them in sequence start to look like something else, and I keep returning to one number. Of the estimated 3,059,650 pages in the Freedmen's Bureau records at the National Archives, CHI Command Record Group 105, only 167,477 textual scans are digitized and available online. Let me put that another way. Only 5.47% of the most important pre-1870 genealogical resource for African Americans has been digitized. More than 94% remains undigitized. Meanwhile, Ancestry.com generated more than $1.3 billion in revenue in 2024. It has deployed proprietary artificial intelligence handwriting recognition technology it used to index the 1950 US Census, a collection of more than 150 million names in a matter of months. In January 2022, Ancestry published a blog post describing how it engineered this AI to handle, and I am quoting, aged, inconsistent or damaged historical documents. It trained the system by deliberately burning, ripping and pouring liquid on recreated census forms to simulate degradation. As of today, Ancestry has announced no comparable AI initiative for the remaining 94.53% of the Freedmen's Bureau collection, or for pre-1870 plantation records, or for county-level slave bills of sale. The technology exists. The records exist. The gap persists. Now I need to bring this closer. The Pew Research Center reported in April 2022 that 57% of black adults in the United States say their ancestors were enslaved. The African American population of the United States is approximately 41 to 44 million people. That means roughly 23 to 25 million living Americans have family trees that run directly into the 1870 war. Some of those people are paying subscribers to genealogy platforms. Ancestry alone has more than 3 million paying subscribers and hosts 65 billion records online. A US discovery plan costs approximately $25 a month. A researcher paying for 14 months of access will spend somewhere between $350 and $500 searching through a record system that thins to almost nothing before 1870. And here is what that researcher may not know. The Freedmen's Bureau records, the single most powerful bridge across the 1870 barrier, were indexed by those volunteers and are searchable for free right now, through Family Search and the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture search portal. Free. At the 2016 handover ceremony for the Freedmen's Bureau project, Hollis Gentry, a genealogy specialist at the Smithsonian, described these records as offering a tremendous potential for them to find their ancestors in this large group of federal records that may bridge the gap between freedom and slavery. The word may is doing a great deal of work in that sentence. The gap exists not because the records were never created. It exists because they were created, then abandoned, then underfunded, then left undigitized while the commercial genealogy industry grew to more than $5 billion globally. You are not paying to find your family. You are paying to search around a hole that your government dug, filled with documents and then walked away from. And none of this would matter if the records were actually gone. But they're not. I keep returning to the technology question. In January 2022, Ancestry announced its proprietary AI handwriting recognition system and deployed it against the 1950 US Census. The 1950 census is a 20th century document collection. Handwritten, yes, but relatively standardized in relatively good condition, held in a single federal repository. Ancestry indexed it in months. The press coverage was significant. Now consider the Freedmen's Bureau records. They are 19th century documents. Handwritten, less standardized in varying condition, also held in a single federal repository. The National Archives. Record Group 105. Already partially microfilmed, not scattered across private collections, not locked in county courthouses, sitting in one place, over 3 million pages, and 94.53% of them remain undigitized. One collection was treated as a technology showcase, the other was treated as a community service project. In 2024, Ancestry announced a $3 million pledge to preserve at-risk records through 2025. Its 2024 impact report noted that 1.1 million records were made available for free under this pledge, including Japanese American internment records. That same year, Blackstone, the private equity firm that acquired Ancestry for $4.7 billion in December 2020, was reported by Reuters to be exploring exit options valued at approximately $10 billion, including a possible IPO or sale. I'm not telling you what this means, I'm showing you where the money went. Now, here is the strongest version of the argument against everything I have just described. Digitizing pre-1870 records is genuinely harder than indexing post-1870 census records. The handwriting is older, the paper is more degraded, the records are not standardized. Many are spread across hundreds of county courthouses, private collections, and miscellaneous archival boxes. Plantation records are held by universities, historical societies, and private families. There is no single federal collection that organizes all of them neatly. And Ancestry is a private company. It has no obligation to prioritize any specific demographics records. It allocates resources where subscriber demand exists. This is not a conspiracy. It is a market. I wanted that argument to hold. Parts of it do. The difficulty is real. But Ancestry's own technology was explicitly designed for exactly this class of problem. Their own blog post described engineering AI to handle aged, inconsistent, or damaged historical documents. They trained it on forms they deliberately destroyed. The Freedmen's Bureau records match that description precisely. The argument that there is no single collection also falters at the Bureau. Record Group 105 is a single federal collection, neatly organized at one institution, already partially microfilmed. It is not scattered. It is not in private hands. And the argument that subscriber demand is low does not survive contact with Ancestry's own marketing. The company offers DNA testing that identifies 63 African ethnic regions. It runs campaigns timed to Black History Month. It actively markets to African American researchers. The demand exists. It is being served downstream through DNA kits and post-1870 records, but not upstream through the pre-1870 documentation that would make those DNA results historically actionable. And there is the $3 million pledge. Ancestry committed $3 million through 2025 to preserve at-risk records across all demographics, globally. Its 2024 revenue exceeded $1.3 billion. That pledge represents approximately 0.23% of a single year's revenue spread across every at-risk collection in the world. So the question is not whether it is hard. The question is whether hard is the same thing as not worth doing when you have the technology, the records, and the revenue. I don't know the answer, but I know who does. Dilla Warren's signature card, account number 1333, Newburn, North Carolina, ties one document in one branch of one bank. There were 37 branches, there were approximately 70,000 depositors, and there was an entire parallel system, the Freedmen's Bureau, with more than 3 million pages across more than 900 field offices covering 15 states. When Dilla Warren filled out her form, she designated that upon her death, any money remaining in her account should be given to Edward Paxton, the son of her deceased brother, Andrew. She was planning for the next generation. The bank collapsed, the bureau closed, but her record survived. It survived the transfer to the War Department. It survived a century of archival indifference. It survived the fires that burned through so many southern courthouses. It is sitting in the National Archives right now. So are tens of thousands of records like it. The records exist. The technology to read them exists. The company with both the technology and the revenue exists. The subscribers who would benefit exist. And the wall, 1870, the year where your family tree goes dark, is still standing. When the Freedmen's Bank collapsed in 1874, Frederick Douglass realized he had been used as a figurehead. More than 61,000 depositors were owed money. Roughly half never recovered a cent. Some of them and their descendants spent more than 30 years petitioning Congress for reimbursement. But there is a detail about the bank's collapse that almost no one talks about. The indexes to the deposit ledgers survive, the signature registers survive. But the deposit ledgers themselves, the books that would have recorded exactly how much each depositor was owed, exactly what was paid out, exactly what was lost. Those ledgers carry a single annotation in the National Archives catalogue. The deposit ledgers of the Freedmen's Bank, of the records that would have told us exactly who was owed what, are listed as not in the National Archives, and it is not known if they still exist. So where are they?